I will guide you through the extended version of the 1-minute meditation. Base of the spine. Heart. Throat. Ma third eye. Base of the spine. Na. Navel. Heart. She. Throat and the mouth. Two eyes and the two brains. Om.
I really hate to say I told you so I bite my tongue, but you don't know.
Your favorite mystic's favorite mystic. You are traveling with the Hood Mystic. Time to tap in now. Your favorite astrologer's favorite astrologer. You are now tapped in with the Hood Mystic.
Peace to the tribe, peace to the collective. This is the Hood Mystic, and today we have an interesting topic. The topic today is one of my favorite topics, actually, and the topic is glamour. And this message has been brought to you by. I've been working with Oshun a lot lately, and a lot of the messages that have been coming through have been from Oshun. And when I say they're from Oshun, I'm saying that they're not from me. I'm not that smart to put two and two together so deeply. And it's like very much of a clear, succinct message of what you are putting your attention towards. Now, it's a lot of things that Oshun does not represent. And mainly, one of those things is plastic surgery, physical beauty, physical beauty in the sense that you got to work for it extrinsically, externally. The truth of it is that real beauty comes from within. And this generation, and a lot of like Generation Z and my generation, the millennials, we don't understand what we focus on is the true beauty. And we don't understand the soul. As much as we have been hammered over the head with God and religion, one is not the same. And so throughout this conversation, I'll be utilizing the word God. And the reality is that I'm really talking about the soul. But the word God, it really cuts through and it cuts to the point. When I talk about the soul, you might think I'm talking about James Brown or some shit like that. But to clarify, the goal is to focus on spiritual and divine things. Put all of your focus on spiritual and divine things. Oshun is really just like, paying attention to women on Instagram is not beauty. Because beautiful people before social media existed. And the ways for which beautiful people were birthed, it wasn't out of studying Instagram pages, jealousy over another person's beauty, getting augmentations on your body, being a victim of the male gaze, having a mansion, having a lot of money, securing the bag. One's in the chat, if you can understand that there was a point in time where women were beautiful and social media didn't exist. How were they beautiful then? Can y'all understand that? Can y'all understand that? One in the chat, if we can talk about something ancient. We talking about an ancient form of beauty. Rob Blackstone with the donation. Appreciate you, guy. Hit me up, man. Let's chop it up one time for the one time. Love what you're doing with the astrology on your channel with the goddesses. Now, one's on the chat. If you compare yourself and judge yourself to these Instagram hoes, I do not want you to be lying to me in this chat or in the comments in general. Just don't be lying to me. One's in the chat, if you see a brother with a Benz, a Phantom, he buying a new BMW, you feel a certain type of way. Because the way that your credit looking, if you wanted to get a BMW 750i, it wouldn't even be possible. 2023 with no mileage, I don't know. I don't think I could swing that. Should I use that as a reason to feel bad? I got a little bit of time today. Not a lot of time. Book with me, get a reading. It's that time. Let's look at your chart. But I've been busy doing a lot of that. And with that being said, this video probably won't go the full distance. Maybe it will, but we're going to explain paradox. We're going to explain paradox. What is a paradox? A paradox is a seemingly absurd, self-contradictory, or a proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. So when we think about the Bible, we are millennials and we are Gen Zs. We don't give a fuck about the Bible. We don't give a fuck about church. We don't give a fuck about religion. And we stand on that. And some of us are strong enough to stand on that hill. A lot of us are not strong enough to stand on that hill. This is why it's billions of people in religious institutions. Because it's human to believe in God. It is a human fact to believe in a human power or a creator. Simply observing nature, reading history books, breathing, creativity, invention, all of these things, artistic expression, creativity, all of these things beget reverence. And when we talk about beauty, we're talking about reverence. We're talking about something within inside of you that you revere. And this is something that we all have. But when we say, fuck God and I don't care about none of this, and my mama's stupid for going to church. Mama, can I borrow $100 with your dumb ass? I really need $100 so I can get me some loud. I want to listen to this spiritual video from this young spiritual dude and him regurgitate some stuff that he read out of books, not even out of books, on an online article for which a person could have written anything. So we're regurgitating things that we've read on TikToks and online articles, and we're not even factoring in that, hey, this person could be lying. And then we follow these people. We subscribe to these people. We love these people. But yet and still, we are focused on a false reality. And I can almost guarantee you that a person is lying to you because the reverence that we need to find is not in another person. The reverence that we need to find is within ourselves. And that is the hardest thing that you niggas is going to be able to do. To find God within yourself. Because at the end of the day, you have emotions. And those emotions deduce to, I ain't shit. And so you can't say, I ain't shit, and God lives within me at the same time. These two energies cannot exist. So in reference to what you focus on, far as Instagram, Pornhub, OnlyFans, things of that nature, TikTok, things of that nature, you focus on that. You fixate on that. You essentially saying, I ain't shit. Why? Because we all need to find God within us. And finding God within us is not something that's just like a thing that we can prioritize 5th, 6th, 75th on the list. It should be numero uno. Because it is very difficult to find God within. Because we cannot find God within and be in our circumstances. Our circumstances are unconscious. So when we see a person doing better than us, online. We don't know for a fact that they're doing better than us, so we assume they're doing better than us. We internalize that. We internalize our future on another person. I'll never be able to experience that. And I for sure never going to experience it because I ain't going to work for it. I'm going to just feel bad because of it. And this is my internal reality. So every day you feel like shit. Every day you feel bad. And then you look outside of yourself for a solution. This is why you can be in a specific spiritual community. This is why you could be in all of these particular type situations and be in the same space, because you are refusing to prioritize God. You're in the spiritual community trying to get a relationship. You're in the spiritual community trying to manifest. You are in the spiritual community to assist you in your career. You are not in the spiritual community to find God, and that is the problem. And it's always going to be the problem, because in this game, along this path, we are all on an even level playing field. So when I'm saying you, I'm also talking about me. And what I'm referencing is we can forget or ignore our soul. I can forget and ignore my soul. This is why on a soft Monday, we should be able to explore paradoxes, things that are weird as fuck on surface. But the more you study it, the more you probe it, the more it becomes a fact. So it is weird to say that within you is a God force energy that can propel you and sustain you and give you the purpose that you have been seeking. That is absurd, because if that was the case, you would have already seen it by now. If it's within you, I'm telling you something about yourself that you don't even see. Because when you see yourself, you see every single day of you making mistakes, of you dealing with that nigga that you know you ain't supposed to be dealing with, you smoking that drug you know you ain't supposed to be smoking, you doing things sexually you know you ain't supposed to be doing. So how can you feel the God force energy within you when you know for a fact that you ain't shit? This is why we got to get into why we're acting in such a way when we're referencing impulses, illusion, and glamour. To whereas your soul don't give a fuck about your mistakes. Your soul only care about whether or not you're going to prioritize it or not, or are you going to ignore it or forget it because you are in the illusion or glamour of self-pity, the illusion or glamour of being the center of the universe, the illusion or glamour of being more important than other people. We are all the same. If I told you, if you knew everybody's problems and you had your own problems, you would always choose your problems because you don't know your problems. You also know that your problems are your fault. If I told you somebody else's problems, 10 times out of 10, like their whole spectrum, not just when it's good, when it's bad, or even their astral problems, like not having a soul, only having a physical vessel, but you look at these people and like, damn, I wish I was like them. But if I told you they didn't even have a soul, like they didn't even have a connection to source, what if I told you they were artificial intelligence? They were created. They didn't even have a childhood. They didn't even, like, what if I told you all of this, but then I told you that you were the child of the Most High? You would then be, we all 144,000 of us can wake up and feel grateful because we are children of the Most High. period, point blank. Now, anything outside of that, we gonna talk about it. I'm giving y'all the whole thing before the thing even starts. So, we're doing Revelation chapter 13. We're not doing the whole thing. We're going to do the beginning, part to the middle, part to the end. And so what I'm going to try to do is go deeper into a paradoxical form of thinking, but also utilize a metaphysical key to explain what is being said. The reason why I'm using a metaphysical key is because whether we talking Santeria, Ifa, Nordic, Hebrew, Greek, Roman, Native American, Aztec, Maya, water is emotions, earth is physical, air is mental, fire is the soul or passion or urges or sex, twin flame, right? So the etheric realm, all of these elements constitute our soul. Now, this is also a paradox, meaning that you got to get into the study of the different particular elements and then involve it into how you process life. So when we say air and we say the mind and we say thoughts, how are you thinking? When we say water and we say sea, how are you feeling? How is your feeling impacting your thoughts? How are your thoughts impacting your feelings? This is a major key. Because if you think divine, you feel divine. If you think separate from source, if you utilize your mind as a device that is separate from source, you will begin to have those particular feelings. So you'll tell me, Hood, my anxiety is very bad. You're also telling me I'm not focused on my soul. So the natural result of this is anxiety, fear, guilt, negative emotions. One, if that makes sense. And so we're going to go through these highlights. We're going to go through this verse. And we're just going to bring some elucidation to this because we are in the time of revelations. And this is also a precursor. So the next video I'm going to do is going to be on Zion and the 144,000, because the truth is always stranger than fiction. This is not something that is happening coincidentally. This is the work of, Satan and the devil, but we're going to use the metaphysical key in understanding that we're not talking about some boogeymen. We're talking about the misutilization of the mind, which is a divine device that actually taps you in. But when you think that you are not the child of the Most High, when you think that, there's a problem with you, you'll begin to feel that and create that reality. However, we can also flip it. We can have a conversation where we're intently focused in on our soul. It's not about whether you agree with me, whether you like me, whether you even understand what I'm saying. If you don't get anything from this video, please get that the prioritization of your soul, the prioritization of God is paramount, whether we're talking about in your relationship. God should be all through your relationship, whether we're talking about your job, what you do for a living. God should be all through what you're doing for a living. Your soul should be all through, up and through that shit. Because then when you have to separate from God to make a fucking dollar, then you got to come back to it. It's hard to do. So we're going to explain something. And the dragon, Satan, stood by the sandy shore the sandy, say that 3 times fast. Stood on the sandy shore of the sea. Once again, we're not looking at literal dragons. We're not talking about a literal Satan. We're using a metaphysical key. Satan represents something in the mind. Stood on the sandy shore of the sea represents something of the mind. Stay tuned. We'll explain it. Then I saw a vicious beast coming out of the sea. We're not talking about an actual beast coming out of the sea. We're talking about an illusion, Allusion, meaning that we're connecting some dots. This beast coming out of the sea is talking about something in your mind. 10 horns, 7 heads. What does that sound like? That sounds like imagination. So a beast coming out the sea is your negative emotions that come from Satan, the part of your mind that is separate from source, God, your innermost, your soul. When your mind is separate from source, then you deal with the realms of imagination. Hood, what are you talking about? Be a little bit more literal. When you was a little kid and you was on punishment or you was on ISO, in school suspension, you sitting in somewhere for 10 hours just looking at a whiteboard, just sitting there, bored as hell. Or you just playing outside as a little kid. You don't got the toys, you don't got the money, your mom ain't about to take you nowhere to nowhere fun. You just about to sit there and play. At a certain point, your imagination began to take over. Your imagination take you to places and you go outside of space and time. It was daytime, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime and your mama saying, get ready for dinner. You don't even know where the day went. You just was somewhere else. When we put ourselves in particular situations, our mind begins to take over in the realms of imagination. We do that when we adults. When we say, I don't know how I'm going to pay the rent, your mind automatically click into imagination mode. And you go outside of space and time, and now you homeless. You in a truck stop. You trying to figure out if you got to sell pussy or not. You online searching for sites that's conducive to you selling pussy. And then you're not even thinking in reference to a solution for the rent payment. Because the rent payment is in the realms of reality. In the realms of what are you going to actually do? In the realms of imagination, in the realms of Satan, it's a billion different thoughts a person can have, meaning that the time that you spend fearing shit, that's literally how you waste your life. Like people will say, it's a quote, if something about 1,000,001 fears at the end of your life that never came true. And the time that you spent. And so what is the solution in reference to the beast coming out to sea? It's a reason that beast is coming out to sea. It's a reason that Satan is a part of this thing. Because we love to separate ourselves from divine. We love to separate ourselves from source. We love to separate ourselves from Oshun. You want to look like Oshun, you want to be Oshun, but when Oshun gives you instruction, skincare for 90 days, you do skincare for 2 days. When Oshun says take a bath, you take a shower. So, what do you actually want? Do you want to focus in on what the spirit has to say for you, or do you just want the result so bad? And since you don't have the result, and you know for a fact you're not going to put in the work, you're just going to feel how you're going to feel. Well, that's going to create a beast coming out the sea. That's that imagination going on 10. So you mad at your boyfriend, he go outside for a little bit longer than usual. And so now what your imagination going to do? It's going to go times 10. That's a beast up out of the sea. But if God ain't in your relationship and you worried about that man cheating, even if he do cheat, your response is a result of God not being in your relationship. If you in a relationship with a person and that relationship is all you trying to listen, if that man leaves you, God didn't leave you. If that woman leave you, God didn't leave you. So everybody in my life got the grace to go. Cause it's one person that's not going to ever go. And so in the heat of the moment, I've been there not too long ago. In the heat of the moment, this person becomes your soul. And sometimes God will send you people like that in your life to remind you to tap back in. One's in the chat if you can relate to putting a person on the pedestal and they fuck you over. You know who orchestrated that play? You know who was the quarterback? You know who was the coach of that play? God was. Why? Because God know he can give you a certain type of human that you will project him or her onto your anima or animus. Refer to the videos on last week where we covered that. You project your anima and your animus on this sexy ass person, right? But that sexy person don't give a fuck about you, right? And they doing everything except making you feel good and happy and secure in the love that you have for them. Cause you loving them like you supposed to love your soul. So they gonna fuck you over. They gonna drag you in the dirt. And then they gonna come back to you. They gonna make it all better. They gonna do it again. Then they gonna come back to you. They gonna drag you in the dirt. And as soon as you get used to the pattern, then they gonna cut you off completely. Cause you was so willing to put up with their toxicity. And this is how we can ignore and forget our soul through our relationship. So that's why I say, if you worried about somebody cheating on you, you just don't believe in God. You just don't trust in God. You just don't know God. You haven't worked with God. You haven't worked with your spirit. You in spirituality, but you ain't trying to cultivate yourself first. You ain't trying to build up the rapport with yourself first to say, if this person decides to cheat on me, good riddance. You was never my God in the first place. So that becomes a issue in the spiritual development's life because we doing spells for money. What's a good money spell? What's a good love spell? Never hear what's a good God spell. What's a good spell for me to find myself? Hard work and dedication and commitment. Prioritization. No easy button. Okay. Then I saw a vicious beast coming out to sea with 10 horns, 7 heads, and on his horns were 10 royal crowns. And on his heads were blasphemous names. So blasphemous is when we call our relationship God, call our job God, call our direct deposit God, call our bank account God. If somebody took God away from you, you wouldn't complain. But if I zeroed out your bank account right now, one's in the chat if that will fuck you up right now. If you whatever amount of money in your bank account now, it goes to zero like that, you would be fucked up. You know what that is? That is you calling your money, your bank account God. If I take that girl away from you with the fat ass that's giving you attention and give you some pussy, if I take her away from you like that, what would you then do? Oh, y'all haven't lived long enough. Sooner or later, that money gonna be gone. Sooner or later, that girl gonna be gone. That man gonna be gone. And what you gonna do about it? This is that beast about the sea. So usually when you put your energy into things that are not of God, it gets taken away. That's how you know God is real. Now, if you are the type of person, everything you wanted, you got and you still got, every girl you wanted, you got and you got a whole roster of people that always loved you and fuck with you your whole life, congratulations. But if you had shit and thought what you had was a priority and you lost it and you felt broken, this conversation is for you. God set that up. Your soul set that up. Because you was putting too much energy into something that wasn't your soul. That wasn't your past lives and future lives. That wasn't your heartbeat. That wasn't your electromagnetic energy. That wasn't your skin. That wasn't your beauty. That wasn't your development, your intuition, your insight. It wasn't none of that. And you cared so much about it. So of course God giveth and taketh away. Of course he does. Of course he does. Of course it does. And the beast I saw resembled a leopard, but his feet like those of a bear, and his mouth like that of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. So what we have is the sensational, the absurd being your ruler. BBLs that do not look good. Weaves that do not look good. Makeup that does not look good. Absurdity being the power and the great authority. People will say, well, if I don't wear this wig, I might not get hired. If I don't put on this makeup, I might not get chosen. People have internalized complete and utter madness. And if I say it, I'm wrong for saying it. Look at the absurdities in your life. Look at the easy buttons that you press in your life and stop pressing them. And the work that it takes to grow your hair, the work that it takes to take care of your body, the work that it takes to take care of your skin, the work that it takes, start doing that shit. If you care about it, if it's of value to you, start to do the work. Because the easy way, the thing that has great authority in the mind and the hearts of the young men, and if not you, definitely your children. You ask your daughter, has she thought about getting a BBL? Before she haven't even fully developed yet, she thinks that she might or may need a BBL. And we know for a fact that when do women stop developing? You are not going to look the same when you're 20 than you were when you're 30 or when you were 40 or when you were... It's going to be a constant change. So at what point is surgery going to be able to solve these problems? And especially when you're a young woman, when you're a young princess, when you are a young priestess, and you know for a fact that is the work of Satan, and you know for a fact that your daughter have thought about it. You know for a fact because she got a damn phone in her hand and she got a fucking Instagram and she got friends that got phones and Instagrams. Hey, what's up with, you think you gonna get a BBL? Ain't even fully developed yet. Yeah, I think I need to increase my size. And we can't even spot out the devil when it's right in our homes, right in our midst. We can't even have a conversation about it. I'm wrong for saying it. If I'm wrong for saying it, I don't want to be right in this instance. So let's explain what I'm even talking about. First things first, beast. The beast in Revelation, the beast coming out of the sea, stands for generalized evil or error in human experience. It is the greatest mystery, an infuriating paradox in human thinking. Because in general, we never think to murder, steal, hurt, kill, do any type of violence, sexual assault, anything of that nature to another person. But we can also bear witness to it happening. We know that it happens. Why does it happen? That is the beast. There is no person that sits and meditates in their soul and thinks about violence and assault and deviance. However, when you sit with separative thoughts, when you do not know that you are connected to source, you can go a million different ways with your victimization and your negative thoughts. And you will begin to project the negative, disconnected energy on somebody else and feel like you need to do something to somebody else. That is the beast. And you might be a perfect person, but you can look around you and see it ain't no perfect people around me. And I'll be damned if I call myself a perfect person. And we can't sleep on the beast. The beast is created simply from having separated thoughts, simply from having a deprioritization. So when you are separated, anything can happen. So this is where people have suicidal thoughts when they are children of the Most High, when they have promise, when they have destiny, when they have so much prosperity, so much abundance, so much joy, so much fruitfulness, so much fertility, so much bliss, but they don't prioritize this in reference to prioritizing the soul. They separate themselves. No one has ever been able to explain it, because we know. And trust me, this is a level of the shadow and doing shadow work. Carl Jung says we all have a shadow. It is only when we say we don't have a shadow that this creates a problem. The beast in Revelation stands for the generalized evil and error in human experience. Some have tried to explain it away by simply claiming that it doesn't exist and there's no such thing. But intelligence knows better. It exists. It is easy to ignore and to forget the soul, which creates separation from the soul, which creates the agonizing antagony of the imagination that will send you down 1,000,001 rabbit holes of what if and what if that and what if this and how come this and how come that. Oh man, I got anxiety. I don't even want to go outside. I don't even want to be in a relationship. I don't even know how I'm going to solve my problems. Since I don't know how to solve my problems, I might as well be depressed. I might as well give up. And I don't know that I don't know, and I'm going to just keep going down this path. But at a certain point, one has to redirect their energy away from the beast. One has to understand this. So let's keep going. Metaphysical water. So when the beast stood on the sandy shore of the sea, we're talking about being able to perceive our emotions. When I tell you we going to the beach, you're going to just hop in the water, ain't you? When I ask you how you feel, you're going to say, I feel blank. You're not going to say, I'm standing on the sandy shore perceiving my anger. I'm standing on the sandy shore perceiving my rage. You can do that, but you choose not to. Maybe because you're not educated, but you say, I am in a rage. I am angry. I am mad. No, you are not. You are the child of the Most High. You are a reincarnated being of God. You are the soul. You are not these energies of separation. This is why Jesus and Lucifer are one. This is why God and the devil are one. You can choose to focus or you can choose to separate. You can choose to perceive and observe your emotions, or you can choose to be submerged and immersed in them. You can stand on the sea, observe the ocean, or you can dive in it. These are options. These are choices. The symbol of water is a familiar one across all regions and spiritual traditions. This is why in the Bible, you stand on the sandy shore of the sea. So in 7 BC, I know what he's talking about. In 1300 AD, I know what he's talking about. In 2023, June 12th, I still know what he's talking about. The sea, the water is always going to be your emotions. And how you understand your emotions is very key. Because if you are immersing yourself in your emotions, if you're swimming in the sea, you are swimming in the pool, you're not able to perceive the soul. Because you are sad, you are angry, you are depressed, you are anxious, you are suffering from bipolar, you are autistic, you are. You never say, I am the divine soul. I am my innermost. I am prioritizing my soul. You don't say those things at the same time. Because if you would do that, you would notice the miraculous power that exists within yourself. You would bear witness to your transformative power. You would bear witness to your solutions in that instant. However, it's easy to ignore and forget the soul. Water unifies all life on the planet Earth, for all depends on it for survival. The symbol of water as human emotions is also a common meaning given by those who interpret dreams or interpret anything esoteric or metaphysical. So even the cups in tarot, which deal with water, you're dealing with your emotions. So when we think about the metaphysical devil, we're not actually talking about anything outside of the conditioned reality. What we're talking about, and this is what was shown to me in trying to explain this, is like a pipe that is bent. And so if we were in ancient tribes and there was a free-flowing pipe that always gave us water, we would call that God. But if for some reason that pipe got bent and we weren't able to receive water, then we would call that the devil. But it's the same pipe and it's the same water. So if we're able to access the source of life, which is within ourselves, we call that God. When we are unable to access it, mainly because we don't know how to fix it, or we've created a problem that we don't know how to solve, we call that the devil. However, when we begin to examine the pipe and we notice that the same pipe that gave us life is somehow crooked, then we know what to do. So when this happens a few times, any times it begins to happen in the future, we automatically know. So what am I trying to explain? When you are not in a relationship that is not God-centered, the water won't flow, right? And you know the water won't flow, but you might start talking shit about the girl. You might start talking shit about the boy, right? But that isn't the problem, is it? The problem is the energy that you're expecting from the relationship is not there. Now you can fix the pipe, right? You can fix the relationship by bringing God into your relationship, or you can continue to project, because 10 times out of 10, you start mentioning these types of conversations with your significant others, it begins to be their kryptonite. It begins to be the shit that they don't want to hear, right? Because there is something about the children of the Most High. The people that you fall in love with is usually the devil. And the reason why you fall in love with them is because you haven't fell in love with your soul first. You haven't fell in love with your soul first. So let's talk about the dweller on the threshold. What is the dweller on the threshold? The dweller on the threshold is just like the Satan who stood on the sand on the shore. Can't say that 3 times fast without messing up. Alice Bailey calls the thriller. Oh my God, you can't say that fast enough either. You got to slow down a little bit. The dweller on the threshold is always present and swings, however, into activity only on the path of discipleship when the aspirant becomes occultly aware of himself. Okay, so the dweller on the threshold is a person who observes the emotions, right? The normie, muggle, regular person experiences their emotions. However, when you are on the spiritual path, you are essentially becoming the dweller on the threshold, right? Because you're able to observe your emotions without experiencing them. So when you think about the conditions induced within, these are illusions. And it is up to you to begin to see all of the illusions that you have programmed in your life. Because you hate your dad for leaving you. You hate him. This is an emotion. You can now begin to say, I observe myself hating my dad for leaving me. Can y'all put in the chat or in the comments a negative emotion that you experience, but before you say what you've experienced, observe yourself experiencing that, so we can get a clearer example of what's being elucidated and not simply from my words, right? I observe myself hating my dad for leaving me. I observe myself being mad at my mother for abandoning me. I observe myself being mad at my husband for cheating on me. Right? There's much different from saying I'm mad at my husband for cheating on me. I observe myself being angry at my wife for disrespecting me. These are major keys to understanding the dweller on the threshold. So, like I said, we're going to skip around because we're just doing a basis for Zion, which is chapter 14. We're in chapter 13 of Revelation. And we're going to talk about glamour. What is glamour? What is glamour? Glamour veils and hides the truth behind the fogs and mists of feeling and emotional reaction. A majority of people function on glamour. Glamour is whenever you get triggered. Whenever you're in the wrong situation and somebody says, this is a wrong situation. There's one or two ways this can go. You can tell me I'm wrong. And that don't mean that I got to jump and attack you and argue with you back and forth. I can examine what you're saying, process what you're saying, and ascertain whether I need to do more research or you just don't know what the hell you talking about or whatever. So you naturally know when somebody is like dead wrong, right? If they say like, oh, you know you're not supposed to be doing that, right? If you know you're doing what you're supposed to do, you just laugh at them and say, okay, whatever. However, when somebody say, you know you're not supposed to be doing right, and then you go say, what you mean? You know, like, and you ready to fight? 10 times out of 10, they're telling you the truth, but glamour is hiding the truth from you. And it's some cold shit, right? It's some cold shit to look at people and say, damn, that motherfucker sexy, and not go to the gym. It's some cold shit to say, man, that motherfucker beautiful, right? And this is what happened, right? I used to be so mad. I would see sexy people and it make me feel uncomfortable. It make me feel angry sometimes when I see a sexy girl or a sexy guy. And that was just my shadow telling me to take my fat ass to the gym, right? And so whenever you are triggered, whenever you are angry, whenever you feel anger, this is glamour. And when you immerse in anger and you can't identify it, that's another deeper level. Because it's one thing to say, I observe myself being angry, but sometimes when you are in a state of a deep emotion, you can't even label it or identify it. So this is why we need to do spiritual work. So we can begin to separate and process and identify our own personal emotions. Because if you haven't done chakra work, if you haven't done the emotional work, then most people operate astrally. They operate in a sense where as long as they are not triggered, they're fine. The only thing is when they get triggered, they become a demon. A demon. So when you look at these young children and these young women and how they respond when you ask them critical thinking questions, they hate you. They don't want nothing to do with you. Because nobody is being taught psychologically how to even resolve conflicts within themselves. You are giving your children phones when they cry. And if you take that phone away from them, they're just going to beat your ass. Like you was not their mom or your dad. They're going to cry, they're going to scream, they're going to tear up the house. Whatever, how long you get them on punishment, you got to give them that phone back. And that phone is glamour. It's giving them false ideas of where they need to be and what they need to do. And if they don't achieve it, they feel less than. The irony of this shit is when they get the BBLs, when they get their OnlyFans accounts, when they get the mansions, when they get everything they desires, nobody talk about the tax of all of this shit. Nobody says how stupid you gonna look when your legs is this big and your ass is this big. You look dumb as hell. However, that's not going to stop a person, because this is the instrument of glamour. This is the instrument of Satan. This is the instrument of being separated from source. It'll just have you out here looking stupid. When you begin the spiritual process, when you begin the spiritual awakening process, the decisions that you make just become common sense. And to a person who is separated from source, they look at you like, how you not just going to eat this hamburger? Because the hamburger is nasty as fuck. How you not going to eat this steak? Rare. Because that feels like cannibalism. It's common sense. I don't want no steak. I don't want no fucking shrimp. I don't want no fucking fish. All of that shit is parasitic and nasty. Well, it tastes good. No, it don't. When you start to really think about it, where it came from, how many parasites is loaded in it, it began to become disgusting. If I gotta cook some food for it to be edible, I don't want it. Because when I crack open some goddamn peppers, or if I crack open some goddamn fruit, I can eat it as is. Don't gotta cook it or nothing. And if I want to cook it, I can cook it. It's enough variety of plant life, mushrooms, nuts, herbs, minerals, supplements, that everything that we eat from animals, we could eat ourselves for the particular protein. I'm not saying that everybody should be a vegan, but to me it's just fucking common sense. And that I used to eat meat. I probably ate more meat than everybody on this chat combined, it feel like. I loved meat. But the more I fucking did my chakra work, the more it made no fucking sense to eat meat. And so forth and so on. So we're talking about looking at things and feeling a certain type of way, or looking within and being taught and guided and educated. Because one of the major rules of the mystery school is know thyself. Right? So let's continue. It's a part in Chakra Nova, chapter 2, where we talk about the sacral chakra. Give me a second. So we got Chakra Nova right here. Google it. Labeling and releasing emotions. If we don't label and release our emotions, no matter how old we get, we carry these emotions with us along our spiritual journey. And it just seems like we need to do a bunch of shit. It seems like we need to go a lot of places, do a lot of things to solve our problems. But that's more of glamour. That's more of a myth that not doing sacral chakra work, not getting into a space of labeling and understanding our emotions, we become victims of it. So now it's just like, and the thing about our negative emotions, we're gonna unleash them on people that we care about the most. So it's usually our significant other, our parents, our children, right? And this is a problem in a lot of communities and a lot of households because it could be somebody that you love in the public, but then when they get home, they're like a monster. They're just like this evil and horrible person. And this is because they haven't separated themselves from their emotions. And the way that you separate yourselves from your emotions is beginning to observe them. This is a work. This is a chore. This is something that usually happens when you're triggered. But the problem is when you're triggered, you're just in that energy for as long as you're in that energy. And if it goes away, cool. But as long as you're in that energy, there's no telling, there's no talking to you. You don't want to talk to nobody else. You're triggered. Or if you do talk to somebody, you're going to fight or flight. You're going to run away from people or you're going to beat their ass. And this is a result of a cultural epidemic called a cell phone, right? Because everything is so perfect in our minds that any type of realistic troubles, it just sends us into a downward spiral. And anything good that happens autonomous, it sends us into an upward spiral where we're just manic and we're just and we think that it's always going to be this way. And so whenever anything happens to break our little safety ball and pull us down into reality, then now it's a point of fight or flight. And when things are not going the way that the problem now is when things are not going people's way, they want to off themselves. They want to delete themselves. That's their only solution for it. And the reality is that they never took the time to connect with themselves. So if you know somebody that's struggling, maybe you're struggling yourself, you probably need to get into the science of yourself and raise and activate your chakras. Because when I'm talking about revelation, we're talking about our chakras. I can do a whole video about that, and I will one day. And I've done it already, but I'll do it again. The time of revelation is the time of activating your chakras. And if you're not activating your chakras, you're not where you getting your insight from. It's called insight. And usually when we are going inside of ourselves without activating our chakras, we're only dealing with the 10 horns, the 7 heads, and all of the illusion that we've created in our minds, all of the separation. So be very careful, be very cautious about what chakras is and what chakra does, like what gland chakras are associated with, what that gland does, how it shows up in your life. You know, we got a journal. Chakras are very important, and I cannot stress this enough. And if you're online researching chakras, you're going to get a million different things. So this is why I say get Chakra Nova, read the book, take notes, understand it for yourself, and begin to heal and repair your endocrine gland system so you can produce the hormones that are associated with your God force energy. So when you go within yourself, you are perceiving your activated self. All right. So just going to share that with you guys because I feel like, you all should do your due diligence, but, it is a fact, right? So let's continue. We're going to be bouncing around because there's no need to read the whole thing. We're just trying to get a general gist. So once again, we're dealing with the mind and we're dealing with the connection to spirit. So as we read further, we will continue along that context. He was also permitted to wage war against the saints. So how does Satan wage war? He doesn't wage war with the gun or with the knife. He wages war in the minds, right? And the saints simply represent those who are connected to source, the 144,000. But when we are not connected to source, Satan can overcome the majority. And he is the authority and power over every tribe and people and language and nation. Because a majority of people are not trying to have this conversation of connecting to their soul. They're trying to accomplish something external, and that's the end all be all. They want a relationship, but they don't want a relationship with God. They want money, but they don't want to connect to their soul to create the prosperity through their skills, abilities, and talents. They want to press the easy button. So whenever you want to press the easy button, you are entering into Satan's army. You are a general in Satan's army. Whenever you do not prioritize your soul, whenever you do not prioritize God, prioritize your innermost, 3 words for saying the same thing, through meditation, through reflection, through peace, through gratitude. When you want to chase a dollar, when dollar has now become your God, in God we trust, not in the dollar we trust, in God we trust, meaning that this dollar means nothing. We trust God. So you don't got to tell me what the score is. I know what the score is. The devil is kicking ass. The devil is winning. Because I sound like a crazy person right now. I hear what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I hear exactly what I'm saying. And trust me when I say, people don't care about God no more. That girl you with don't care about God. God ain't through your relationship. God ain't in your bank account. You running far away from God, trying to chase something that don't exist. And what's present is able to redeem the past. The past cannot redeem itself through the past. That shit is over. What we can do in the present is be grateful, aware, and meditate. Thessalonians 5:10, if I'm not correct. Meditate consistently. Meditate always. All the inhabitants of earth will fall down and worship him. Like I said on Instagram last night when I was working on this video, if you don't know if that girl is for you or not, start talking to her about God. Start talking to her about the Bible. She gonna start looking at you 10 types of crazy. Start talking to that boy. Start talking to that boy who wanna fuck you so bad. He get all inside your pussy, get all inside of them wet, juicy walls, but you don't know if he for you or not. Start talking to him about revelations and chakras. See if he don't call you a crazy bitch in 5 seconds. Okay? Because it makes sense to you. It feel good to you, but it's not going to feel good in your relationships. It's not going to feel good to your work husband when you talk to your work husband. What you been doing lately? Oh, I've been reading the Bible, decoding the Bible. got my metaphysical dictionary in the Bible, and I'm just decoding shit. Coming into my own understanding of my divinity. You know, one or two things gonna happen. He gonna run far away from you, or he gonna be like, okay, queen, I was wondering, I was thinking that you was the one, now I know you the one. Matter of fact, let's just do a Bible study on Thursday. Like every Thursday, we can meet at Starbucks and do a metaphysical Bible study. Right? Because when God is in your heart, when God is in your partner's heart, then ain't no sexual tension, is there? You know, you try to talk to the girl that the devil gave you. You know, she like, yeah, pull your dick out. Right? And we so separated from source, we pull our dicks out, right? Cause nothing else, you know. I mean, what else is there to do, right? So much so it's hard, but it's real easy. Cause in the reference of pulling my dick out should be the same reverence of me pulling my Bible out. Should be the same reverence of me pulling out Judica Illis, the Encyclopedia of Spirits, and we going over some spirits that we want to do a ritual for. So we going to practice and get the tools, and we going to go to the Botanica, and we going to come up with a ritual. Because you can't spell spiritual without ritual, can you? One's in the chat if you can spell spiritual differently than that, right? Spiritual ritual. So we still in the space of doing this work, but why can't we do it in our relationships? Oh, because you don't really believe in God, you believe in money. So your boyfriend, husband, what do? He pay the rent, and you don't gotta pay rent, or maybe you go half on some rent. So it's gonna kill you to think to come up with $1,600 on your own. This $800 is manageable and flexible. But you know the relationship ain't of God, so you gonna suffer internally in the plane of emotions. That beast gonna rise up out to sea every time and trigger your ass into these negative emotions. And the reality is, you need to start talking to him about God. You need to start talking to yourself about God. You need to start develop, because it got so clear to me. It got so clear to me. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for both sides of the coin. Because like I said, I am you and you are me. I forgot about the soul. I ignored the soul. Because of temptation. Temptation is real. And it brings you down to a level. It brings you so low. Because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to bring you down so low. Because it's got to get you to a point where you begin to do root chakra work. It brings you past the sacral chakra. It brings you down to hell. Because this is where you begin to activate. So you got to be thankful. But at the same time, you got to begin to remember and stop forgetting and stop ignoring. I am me and you are, I am you and you are me. So everyone whose name has not been written since the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who has been slain, a willing sacrifice. So we ignore and forget our souls when we are not ready. And when I thought I was ready, I realized that I wasn't ready because I failed the test. I failed the test of the flesh. I failed the test of beauty. And this is what opened the door to Oshun for me. Because that was never what it was. It's like you can know something and you can feel something, you can see something, and you still carry on with it. And you try to figure it out and you try to give it a second chance, third chance, fourth chance. And the reason that all of this monotony and stagnation and negative energy is there is because you have sacrificed the lamb. You have forgotten your soul. and you haven't gotten on to the book of life, which is your chakras, which is your spine, which is Kundalini raising. So to sacrifice the lamb is to externalize these things, and for these things to pull you down. So that's what a sacrifice is. Like, it's like you killing something, but what you kill begins to be immortalized. Then it's also a rebirth, a reincarnation of the spirit of the soul. And that is the root chakra activating. We're going from truth unity, the metaphysics of Satan. So it's just not like this boogeyman or nothing like that. Satan represents the deceiving phase of mind and man that has fixed ideas in opposition to truth. What is truth? Truth is God. Truth is the soul. So in the mind of all men who have a fixed idea of the opposition that the soul doesn't exist in this present moment, Satan assumes various forms in man's consciousness, among which may be egotism, a puffing up of the personality, and the opposite of this, self-depreciation, which admits the accuser into consciousness. So you can be the greatest man on the world and still suffer through Satan. You can be down to your last 2 months on rent and still be practicing in satanic worship. Right? Satan will bring you up, Satan will bring you down. Satan will keep you in that spectrum of good and bad, right? And this is where most people live at. When you talk to people, they cool with the ego and thinking that they created it all. And they also cool with telling themselves that they ain't shit and how they ain't gonna never be shit. So we want to get into a sweet spot of internal recognition, internal living, of being unified with the soul. Studying the word, breaking down the word, not ignoring the word, not ignoring your studies, not ignoring your rituals, not ignoring your work, journaling, prioritizing the soul, prioritizing the communication between you and your soul, bringing God into your relationship, bringing God into your profession, bringing God into how you raise your children, and not trying to separate and compartmentalize things, because then things become overwhelming and stressful and filled with anxiety. Satan is the devil, a state of mind formed by man's personal ideas of his power and completeness, sufficiency apart from God. One's in the chat if that makes sense. So we're just going to skip this because I don't have the actual verse, but we could always reference it at a later time. The word Kabbalah is derived from the Hebrew word Kabal, meaning to receive. The tree of life is a diagram of the Kabbalah where there are points where we do receive. If you look at the tree of life, you're also looking at the chakra system. And when you're able to receive from source, it is through the activation of the chakras. We can focus on the external world and we can seek to manifest things, but manifestation simply for the sake of manifestation is just the result of Satan. However, when we practice insight and we practice intuition, we're able to receive from the soul. So receiving from the soul is different from creating in the physical world. Although they look exactly the same, and we wouldn't never be able to differentiate a person who is satanic, who is attempting to create in reference to his own personal power and completeness, versus a person who is godlike and is receiving from his soul and just acting in accordance with the soul. The only way you would know is if you talk to a person. However, you can know for sure whether you are going to be able to receive from the soul. So I have to get to this reading. So I'm gonna zip through these last parts and then I'm gonna end it in hopefully the next 15 minutes. And I'm gonna skip down to 18 just for time's sake. Here is wisdom. Let me rewind this. No. Let's go back. Let's just keep at 18. Here is wisdom. Let the person who has enough insight calculate the number of the beast. So, for it is in perfect number of man, and his number is 666. What makes this so profound is that when insight is referred to looking within yourself, being calculative is in reference to mathematics or observation. So I feel like these words are specific to the removal of emotions. So looking inside of yourself pragmatically. And whenever you look at whatever you're attempting to manifest or bring into this world, is always imperfect because the number of divinity is 7. So 666 is just 3 levels of imperfection: Maya, illusion, and glamour. Okay? So it's an interesting thing that has been happening with Zion Williamson. And we're going to break down Zion Williamson in the next video. But we got to get down Glamour first, or it's not going to make sense. Zion is covered in chapter 14, and Glamour is in chapter 13. And I don't think that these things are coincidences. What you have is a level of a simp. And a simp is the negative polarity of a pimp. Being a pimp is not good, and being a simp is not good. But a pimp is basically a man who does nothing for a woman. And a simp is a person that does everything for a woman. And the reason that a man would do everything for a woman is a result of glamour. And so to benefit from glamour, you're not really benefiting, because when we begin to examine the case of Zion Williamson, the girls that thought that Zion Williamson loved them for their glamour realized that no matter how good you look, you can still get left on the curve, right? And you can still get treated wrong. So there is no solution in beauty, right? Especially in the augmented form of beauty. But this generation don't even know about how to deal with other people based upon the satanic power that is had on these people. So when you look at this draft class, Generation Z, Generation Zion, and his other head, Ja Morant, you got one that's infatuated with guns, and you got another one that's infatuated with buns. And all of these things is a result of the devil. In reference to Zion, who needs to fixate and focus on Shango. Shango is calling out to Zion, but who knows if he has spiritual eyes? And 10 times out of 10, these relationships with these women, right? Because a simp would think, if I give this woman an allowance, I'm 6'6", 280 pounds, all muscle. I'm giving you money. You should be able to keep it cool. But a simp don't know that that is not the way to capture a woman's heart, by giving her everything she desire, even if that's how she feel. That's why a man in the middle is not going to give you everything you desire. And he will know if that's what you want, he just not going to deal with you. A simp will try to do what it is that you tell him to do. And most women want simps. Most women are waiting for simps. The reality is that simps are hard to come by. And then generally, when you do get a simp, you hate his guts. Because just like the soul challenges you, your relationship should challenge you. And I'm saying this because a lot of y'all have children or will have children. And if you don't understand this side of the game, it's going to be a rude awakening. The type of girls that your son is interested in, the type of boys that your girl is interested in, is going to be a rude awakening. So, hopefully you give them some game early and give them game long. Show them the world. Don't keep them isolated. Show them the results of getting BBLs and things of that nature. I don't know. It's just mad dirty out here. So, be sure to keep it clean. This generation is tough because these phones, we haven't really examined the full impact of what these phones are actually causing. Deep psychological damage. But at the same time, we can't be mad at it because it allows us to have this conversation. So with this being said, I'm going to deal with this Zion Williamson in full spectrum. I just had to get the glamour part down because in reference, if we don't get the glamour part down, then it's a key part of what I explained today that comes in full effect in chapter 14. So tomorrow, we'll be explaining Zion and 144,000 and the spiritual elect and how we can begin to receive from the Kabbalah or receive from the God within, as opposed to imagining that girls with big booties having $200 million was ever going to solve our problems. Okay? Because let society tell it, Zion Williamson should be able to be in paradise with all of his porn star girlfriends and things of that nature. But common sense will say you probably need somebody that is spiritually aligned with you, somebody who really loves God, and you as a man, as a person who has so much promise in the world, begin to love God yourself. So if you know Zion Williamson, let him know that Shango is calling out to him. Maybe go out to South Carolina and get with some of those Gullah Geechee root workers and do some Shango invocations so he can get control of his life, get control of his energy, and get control of these hoes. Okay? So, man, I just made it in time to get this reading together. So I'm going to go ahead and get that. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Hood in the Morning. No telling what time it is, but whatever time it is, it's going to be the morning somewhere. So we're going to continue this channel tomorrow, and I'll see y'all on the flip side. Peace.
They ain't rooting for me, they ain't clapping for me. I'm only saying, can somebody just be happy for me? I really hate to say I told you so I bite my tongue, but you don't know.
Your favorite mystic's favorite mystic. You are traveling with the Hood Mystic. Time to tap in now. Your favorite astrologer's favorite